The first way is the easiest one. We attach the new yarn by simply using it to make a stitch. We can start with the fourth stitch of a row, but we'll get a much neater side edge when we introduce the new yarn in the second stitch. So work the fourth stitch using the old yarn. Then insert the tip of the right needle into the next stitch. Do it knitwise or purlwise depending on how you plan to work this stitch. Mine is a knit, so I'm going to go this way. Then take the new yarn, leave a small tail and make a fold. Place this fold onto the tip of the right needle, then pull the yarn through and slip the original stitch off the left needle. Here we go, the yarn is in the work. Now keep the tails at the side of the work, let them just hang there and use the yarn in the new color or the yarn from the new ball to continue working on your project. This method is simple, but it leaves a gap because none of the tails are actually secured. This gap is easy to fix when we hide the tails, but if you want to avoid this gap in your project, then consider using one of the next four ways. The second way secures the tails with a simple knot. This knot is so small that even if you try to avoid knots at all costs, you could use it in your project because it does not affect the texture in any way. So here's how it happens. Tie the new yarn around the old yarn with a simple knot, just like this. Then move the knot as close to the bottom of the stitch as you can and tighten it up. That's it, the yarn is attached. Now use the new yarn to work on your project. This way is good, but if you want to secure both tails, then you'll need to make a stronger knot, and we'll do it in the next way. A stronger knot would be a square knot, and that's what the third way is all about. So align the strands so that the tails are facing opposite directions. Then tie the strands with a simple knot once, and then tie them again, like this. Then, as you tighten the knot, move it as close to the bottom of the stitch as you can. So just shift the strands like this, moving the knot to the bottom of the stitch, of the first stitch, and tighten it up. That's it. Now the tails are secured. This one is a bit shorter than it should be, but that's okay. And now we can use the new yarn to work on our project. This is a very nice way to secure the yarn, but what if we don't want to have the knots in our work? And what if we don't want to have the gap in our work? So in this case, we should settle for a bit of an added bulk. The tails will also stay put without any knots if we use both of them to work one or more stitches. So align the new yarn with the old yarn so that the tails face the opposite directions, like this. Leave a short tail of a new yarn, about like this, and then use both strands to work one or more stitches. If you want to minimize the bulk, then work only one stitch. So go into the stitch and wrap the needle with both strands at the same time, and then pull it through. That would be enough to attach the yarn to the project. But if you want to make a more secure join, then work a couple more stitches. In the next row, remember to treat these stitches, these double stranded stitches, as one stitch and work two strands together every time as you come across this stitch. The fifth way is a blend of the second and the fourth ways that we've just discussed. So we attach the new yarn to the old yarn, but instead of making a knot, we make a fold, leaving a medium-sized tail. So simply make a fold and place it around the old yarn, like this. Then pull the old yarn while you move the fold close to the bottom of the stitch, and then use two strands to make one or more stitches, just as we did in way number 4. So you simply knit or purl a stitch using 2 strands, the tail and the working yarn from the new ball of yarn. 1 stitch is enough, but if you are worried that stitches will unravel, then work a couple more stitches like this. Then let go of the tail and continue working on your project using just 1 strand of the yarn from the new ball. In the next row, remember to treat these double-stranded stitches as one. Each stitch, you just simply work these 2 strands together. If you have selvage stitches in your project, then use any of these ways after you work your selvages. This way, the pattern at the side edge will not get interrupted. The full tutorial about these methods is at 10rowsaday.com/join-yarn. Happy knitting, my friend. I'll talk to you in the next tutorial.